Hey, check this out. Yeah, this video right here.
I'm playing bingo.
If you had to put a date on it, a year it came out, what would you say? A lot of people might look at it, listen to the sound, and say, oh, that's obviously some modern day hipsters recording on an old school camera with old school Casio drum machines trying to replicate the sounds of acts like Ariel, Pink, and Tonetta. Well, then you might be interested to learn that this song and video were recorded in early 1998, months before Ariel Pink released his debut album Underground to a few select classmates at CalArts. And you know something? In the midst of all this dark, gloomy unpleasantness going on in the world right now, I think that their music may just be the sunshiny, childlike pick-me-up you need to your life, while simultaneously being some of the smartest, most reserved music to come out of the past 2 decades. What, how, and why? I'm here to explain. When I'm making a video about a particular artist, I don't only stick to their own music for the soundtrack. Rather, I use whatever music I may have on me at the time that I feel elevates the particular mood I'm trying to convey. For example, if the mood of the video is more subdued and psychedelic, then I may use some jazzy hip-hop beats. Or if it's more sunshiny and silly and maximalist, then I may use some sunny surf rock. But I feel there is nothing that better conveys the raw emotions that Cornish and Turtleneck's music brings out than their own songs. I mean, aside from the fact that they write this silly, bouncy pop music packaged in colorful cardboard and stickers, who else do you know who's writing a happy-go-lucky acoustic guitar song about cutting yourself with an Exacto knife?
I wanna cut myself with an Exacto knife. I wanna push it down and swirl it round and cause a lot of pain.
It's stupid and childish, yet oddly warm and compelling in this very deeply demented way. And yet they can, like it's nothing, immediately next song switch to a very deep emotional topic. And then, like nothing ever happened, go back to their silly pop antics. It's kind of beautiful. It's taken me a while to pinpoint why I find this aspect of their music so enchanting, but I think I finally got it. It's because that's how humans think and feel, isn't it? I mean, when was the last time you had a day that was only ever good or only ever bad? Sure, a really sad album about lost love can be great for grieving over a breakup. But when was the last time you had a day where you were consistently sad, and sad about everything, and nothing insignificant to earth-shatteringly big cheered you up, even if just for a few minutes? No, that's not how humans are. We're fickle, we're controlled by our emotions, we're hard to predict. And that's the beauty of Cornish and a Turtleneck's music. It doesn't feel written. It feels like it comes from the soul. I want to take a look at the band's second album, another Mediterranean taste adventure from 1999. Track 8 on here, called Triceratops/Something Real, is one of my favorite songs of all time. Often, when I meet fans of this type of music, I'll play them this song, and usually they say, yeah, that's pretty good, but what's so great about it? And I'm like, no, it's really good, it's really, really good, like, listen, dude, it's so good, and they just don't seem to get it. And I think that's because that you need to experience the whole album to see what's so beautiful about it. Just the flow of the album and how the emotional gradient of the whole piece works. You start off with this very slow-moving introductory track. It's almost like waking up from a deep sleep. And then this very sweet, solemn song about the nighttime and how time passes. After that, there's this very bouncy, funky, danceable song called Lucky One, which was actually my first exposure to the band. And then you go through 3 or 4 more silly pop songs, and this funky dance mood slowly cools off. Triceratops, the intro to the song, is this very warm, welcoming guitar melody, but it's also kind of somber. It has this very sad tinge to it. And then the song slowly disintegrates into radio sound effects and NES fireworks sounds, and we come out of all of this chaos with this very sad, melancholy tune about a fear of the future. At least that's how I interpret it. And it moved me to tears the first time I heard it, because this album was able to convey such a wide range of emotions in just 20 or 30 short minutes. And after this calming 2-minute refrain into utter sadness and fear washes over you, the album emerges again with some of the band's funkiest, most danceable work of their entire discography, with a song called Survive, which resolves that no matter what fear, no matter what hardships you endure, you will survive and you will come out of it stronger. And I think that made me cry even more than Something Real the first time I listened to it. The album ends on this very fuzzy anthem for the band's sound itself, about letting your cares go and fuzzing out your instruments and just feeling the fuzzy sound all around. Listening through this album from start to finish is really a magical experience that I'd recommend to anyone who likes this type of music. But once again, this emotional existentialism isn't all the band has in store. I mean, aside from the aforementioned Exacto Knife song, their next album is a booty rap mixtape. So, you could continue on with your Gucci Mane and Chief Keef, but the realest ones are bumping Cornish and a Turtleneck whipping around the town. I think this band can also teach us a very valuable lesson about modern-day living. You see, recently I was having an email conversation with one of my fans. I didn't know I had any either. And one of the things we discussed was how nowadays in this digital age we're living in this sort of perfect world. I almost feel like it's a plastic life sometimes, because you can like never before compare yourselves to others and their lives, and many of these people who hinge their personae on being the most successful and profitable and powerful person they can, and everyone's talking about how to increase your productivity and do all of this work, and we forget these people are still people. There's a scene I love in the game Killer 7, which is a very deeply political story where basically World War III started when negotiations break down between a few UN representatives. But not because of this big, calculated plot for world domination by any of the countries, but because all the people involved are playing a game of mahjong and they get pissed and kill each other. That's how people are. Even those who are around you and more successful than you, they're still humans. They're still controlled by their feelings. And I feel like we forget this in our digital age, where we only see very filtered views of people's lives. I mean, think about it. Would you, unless you're a select set of people, post the worst parts of your life on social media? With so many people, we only see the best of them. We only see their peak creative output, their best look at the beach. We never see the day where they couldn't quite get their hair right, the day where they had writer's block, the day where they just couldn't be bothered to get out of bed. And we compare these people to ourselves and think, what can I change to be like them? And many of us conclude that we can't feel these childish things such as joy, and we have to acknowledge how terrible everything in the world is, and to do that we have to shut out joy from our lives, and that we need to only think about productivity, and things like sexuality are too frivolous. But really, that's all part of being a person. I often think I'm very bad with first impressions, because most people first see me as this headphone-wearing, neon-clothed, long-haired guy with a wacky sense of humor and a low voice who makes a lot of stupid, silly jokes, and then are very surprised when I start speaking about philosophy and stuff. But This album by Cornish and a Turtleneck that moved me to tears multiple times comes in a piece of cardboard with pictures of food stuck all over it. And I think that we should just open ourselves to the whole range of human emotion. It's understandable to feel bleaked out by life, or to feel like all of the feelings of lust and stupid humor are clouding your productivity. But just ignoring one for the other is foolish for either end of the spectrum. Whether you're ignoring all the hate in the world for only the joy, or ignoring all the joy for only the hate for that matter, or you're pushing all of your sexual urges to the side just to be someone focusing on productivity. That's an unbalanced life, and you're shutting out all of these feelings of yours, and that just can't be good for you. That's why I think so many big successful people are very fucked up in the head most of the time, because they shut out so many of these desires. There's a YouTube video I saw many years ago, and I forget the title of it. I don't think the channel that made it is still around, but they said that the secret to being a successful and reserved person isn't not having these thoughts of lust and greed, but knowing how to deal with them and not letting them overtake you. And I think that that's something that so many people miss the mark on. Actually, let's swing back for a moment to that point about joy versus gloom. Because, especially now, there are so many people of my peers and those around me who just throw their hands in the air and say, "The world is terrible, life is horrible, there's tragedies everywhere, nothing means anything, everyone sucks." We're really becoming the goth kids from South Park, I think. And if you remember that episode where Stan becomes a goth kid after Wendy dumps him, and if you don't remember it, you really should watch it. It's one of the best of the series, in my opinion. At the end of an episode where their defense to everyone who tells them that the world isn't just constant gloom is that those people are just posers and conformists, and when at the end of the episode Butters tells them that he doesn't want to join their clique even after having his heart broken, he gives them this speech about beautiful sorrow and the idea that even if sadness may be painful at the time, it's in the end beneficial, which is a point I basically stole from my last video. But it's a really good one. And I give that argument to people a lot, and I say that you can't know happiness without knowing sadness. But then a lot of people fire back with, well, what's the point if there's so much sadness in the world? And at that point I'm like, well, don't you want to be happy? Because I'm terrible at arguing. But the thing is, that if you're sad all the time, you just get desensitized to it all. And real issues in the world and issues in your life don't mean as much to you anymore. If everything sucks, then what does it matter when something really terrible happens to you? I think that we've just got to allow ourselves more humanity. There are so many people who hinge their identity on their political beliefs, and while that's not inherently wrong, I think they're asking too much of themselves, because they have to always have this very concrete opinion on things, and it's okay not to. It doesn't make you any less political to not understand what's going on. I mean, surely I can't be the only one who's ever gone into a ballot room swelling with political agency, only to be met by a bunch of decisions that don't interest or concern me, that I can't make sense out of them, and immediately make me acutely aware of how little I understand the situation. It's okay not to understand things. It's okay not to only feel sadness or only feel happiness. It's okay if you can't finish your essay right now. We're people. And I just hope that in this big wave of change that every fucking Hulu ad and lifestyle company assures me that we're in the middle of, we don't come out any less human.